For thousands of years, there have been stories of medical masters who could feel the deepest secrets of your body, pregnancy, hidden illnesses, even your emotional state, just by touching your wrist. It sounds like magic. But what happens when that ancient art gets plugged into a super powerful AI? Well, we're about to find out.
And that brings us to the big question, right? Can cold, hard data from a sensor ever truly capture that subtle, intuitive feeling a master gets from a lifetime of practice? That's really the mystery we're diving into today.
Okay, so before we go any further, we have to get on the same page about a concept called qi. You pronounce it qi. Now, let's just strip away anything mystical for a minute. For our purposes today, just think of qi as your body's bioelectricity. And the pulse? It's not just a beat, it's the quality of that electric current flowing through the whole system.
So right away you can see we've got this fundamental clash of worldviews. On one side, you've got thousands of years of human intuition and embodied knowledge, and on the other, you've got the absolute cutting edge of data science. The question is, are they really talking about different things?
So, you ask a traditional master, and they'll tell you something like this. They don't just feel a beat, they feel a story. They use these beautiful poetic words like slippery or wiry. They're feeling for the quality, the mood, the life force flowing in that river of blood.
And then you walk over to the AI architect's lab and you get this. No river, no mood. It's a hydraulic system. The heart's a pump, the arteries are just pipes, and the pulse is nothing more than a pressure wave. It is pure physics, something you can measure, graph, and stick in a spreadsheet. Okay, so you've got the poet and the engineer. But here, this is where it gets really interesting. This is where those two worlds slam into each other and actually start to make sense. The master feels a wiry pulse, describing it as feeling like a taut violin string. The engineer measures something called high arterial stiffness, and it turns out they're describing the exact same physical thing, hypertension, just using completely different languages. And that's exactly where the AI comes in. It's not here to replace the ancient wisdom. No, its job is to be the ultimate translator. It's like a Rosetta Stone that can take those poetic ancient feelings and convert them into cold, hard, measurable data points that a modern doctor can understand.
And you know what? It works. For centuries, masters have said they can detect early pregnancy by feeling for something called the slippery pulse. So researchers fed a bunch of pulse data into an AI. The result? It learned to spot pregnancy from the pulse waveform alone with 84% accuracy. The machine learned to feel the same thing.
But here's where the AI has a huge advantage: consistency. You see, even with highly trained experts, you get what's called inter-rater variability. You could have two masters feel the exact same pulse and come to different conclusions, sometimes up to 40% of the time. The machine, though, it's reliable over 95% of the time. It doesn't have an opinion, it doesn't have a bad day, it just reads the data.
And this is basically what the AI is building, a translation dictionary. A slippery pulse isn't just a feeling anymore, it's a specific double peak waveform in the data. That wiry pulse we talked about? Well, that corresponds to a large systolic peak angle. All of these ancient feelings are finally being mapped to specific, quantifiable features.
But, and this is a really important but, it's not perfect. It gets nuanced. So a patient could say they feel totally drained, and a master feels a weak, empty pulse. But the machine, it reads a perfect 120/80 blood pressure. The machine is technically right about the pressure, but it's completely missing the quality of the pulse, that hollow feeling that tells the master something about the person's deeper vitality.
Now, all this might make you think that the ancient way is just, abstract art, a vibe. But what if I told you it was actually a highly structured, repeatable, data-driven system? What if it was an ancient algorithm?
For this, we have to travel back to the 16th century, to a doctor named Li Shi Zhen. This guy wasn't some kind of mystic. He was a methodical observer who spent decades documenting and classifying exactly what he felt, creating one of the most important books on pulse diagnosis ever written.
So, let's just quickly remember what an algorithm actually is. Forget the complex code. At its core, it's just a set of rules for solving a problem. It takes in some data, follows a few steps, and gives you an output.
Now look at Li Shi Zhen's method through that lens. Step 1. Gather inputs. He checks 3 very specific positions on the wrist: the kun, guan, and qi. That's sun, guan, chi. Step 2. Process the data. He feels at 3 distinct depths, from light to deep. And finally, step 3. Classify the output. He assigns one of 27 specific labels based on what he felt. That is not a vague feeling. That is a structured, repeatable algorithm.
And this, right here, is the biggest takeaway of this whole story. They weren't just feeling things. They were gathering data, recognizing patterns, and classifying outcomes with a rigorous, systematic approach. They were the original data scientists, and their fingertips were the most high-fidelity sensors on the planet.
So, after connecting this ancient algorithm to our present-day tech, where does this all leave us? What does this AI-powered translation actually mean for you and me in the future?
Well, right now, your smartwatch has a pretty big blind spot. It's great at measuring your heart rate using light, but it has no idea about the quality of your pulse. It can't tell you if it's wiry because you're stressed out. Now imagine a wristband that uses pressure sensors to send the actual texture and feel of your pulse to a doctor thousands of miles away. Or what if your watch could feel you're getting stressed out before you even consciously notice it yourself?
So I'll just leave you with this thought. We've seen how AI can translate an ancient feeling into modern data. But the next step, it's not just about seeing data on a screen. It's about transmitting the feeling itself. What if your doctor could put on a glove and literally feel the river of your pulse, its unique quality and mood, from anywhere in the world? That's a future where technology doesn't just measure us, it actually helps us feel and understand our own bodies on a profoundly deeper level.